The Grand Council Hall of the Galactic Empire floated above Michael, like a suspended cathedral of glass and arrogance. Thousands of alien delegates shimmered under refracted starlight, their voices blending into a multilingual storm of clicks, hums, and sonorous bell tones. Flags of 100 worlds rippled in artificial gravity. At the far end, beneath a towering obsidian throne, the Emperor of Threxen rose, 12 feet of polished armor and ceremonial indignation. He announced the declaration slowly, savoring every syllable as if carving history with his tongue. Humanity, he thundered, has proven itself a contagion, primitive, impulsive, dangerous in its kindness. The Empire therefore declares absolute war upon the species of Terra. The chamber erupted in sound. Cheers, hisses, flashes of bioluminescent applause. And through that frenzy, one solitary figure stood silent. Cassandra Hale, human representative to the Galactic Council, adjusted her blazer cuff and stared at the Emperor as if he'd just recited the weather. She was not imposing, mid-40s, faint lines around her mouth, hair pulled back with pragmatic precision. Yet something about her composure unsettled the crowd. She neither flinched nor bowed. Instead, she reached into her pocket, drew out a metal lighter, and flicked it open. The sound, click, echoed like gunfire in the hush that followed. Smoke curled around her face, pale and deliberate. "You're sure you want to do that?" she asked softly. Her words translated across thousands of receivers, each alien species hearing them in their own tongue, and yet somehow the tone remained unmistakably human. Not outrage, not plea, but quiet warning. Laughter rippled through the hall. The reptilian envoy of Kaz clattered his jaws. Empty bravado. How quaint. She thinks the prey may intimidate the hunter. Cassandra exhaled a slow stream of smoke and smiled. "Oh, I don't intimidate anyone," she said. "I just make sure they remember me." The Emperor's crest plates flared crimson. "Your planet's arrogance precedes its annihilation. You will surrender your territories and deliver your military codes. Resistance will only multiply suffering." "I believe," she said, rolling the cigarette between her fingers, "we tried surrender once. It didn't take." A thin, feathered scholar seated near the Emperor, Vesh of the Aurelians, watched her with growing unease. He'd studied human history. He remembered lines about oceans and wars and cities rebuilt from ashes. He whispered to his neighbor, "They don't threaten like this. They warn once." Cassandra caught the whisper without looking his way. "Someone's been reading the right books," she murmured. The Emperor raised his staff, its head crackling with contained plasma. "Enough. You will deliver Earth's response within 1 standard hour." She flicked ash onto the immaculate crystal floor, unhurried. From her inner pocket, she produced a paper folder. Actual paper, yellowed and creased. 100 lenses zoomed in. No one had seen paper in centuries. She placed it on the steps below the throne. "Earth's response," she said. Guards hesitated before retrieving it. Inside was a single handwritten note. The translation field rendered 2 simple words in shimmering gold. "We accept." The Emperor froze. "Accept." She gave a half shrug. "War's a conversation, your radiance. You just started one." For a moment the hall forgot how to breathe. Even the air recyclers seemed to falter. Cassandra tapped the lighter shut, pocketed it, and straightened her jacket. "Thank you for the notice. I'll see myself out." As she turned to leave, the vast hollow panes lining the chamber flickered. A dozen aides scrambled at control consoles. Someone shouted, "Council uplinks are destabilizing." Another, "Multiple system pings from Sol Sector." The Emperor roared, "Deactivate Earth's channels." But the screens shifted before any command executed. The Empire's emblem vanished, replaced by a faint image, blue and white, fragile and familiar. A spinning globe. The word Earth appeared beneath it, followed by a simple text line. Signal received. Protocol Eden activated. Gasps spread like wildfire. Communication links to the galactic network faltered, then died. Power nodes dimmed. Emergency lights ignited in red. Cassandra paused in the doorway, silhouetted against the chaos. "Looks like your system's just caught a cold," she said. "You might want to isolate the infection before it spreads." A delegate shrieked. "What have you done?" "Nothing today," she replied. "Just lit a cigarette." Vesh stood abruptly, feathers bristling. "You planned this. You knew they would declare." She met his gaze, calm as dusk. "You think we didn't notice you studying us? You write papers on human unpredictability, like it's a disease. We read them. We even graded the spelling." The Emperor's voice shook the air. "Guards, detain her." Two Threxan enforcers lumbered forward, but their armor lights flickered out mid-stride. They froze, confused. Their weapons refused to power. Cassandra passed between them without breaking pace. "You're tampering with sacred systems," someone shouted. "Not tampering," she said. "Synchronizing." She walked toward the great exit doors, her steps echoing beneath the crystal arches. The massive shutters began to close, triggered by frantic security protocols, but they halted halfway, frozen mid-motion. She slipped through the gap without looking back. Outside, the vacuum corridor stretched like an artery of stars. Beyond it, the curvature of Mycol glowed pale green. She paused, leaning against the transparent wall, watching the Imperial fleet formations drifting below like polished beetles. Her communicator chimed once, a small vibration against her wrist. She whispered, "Cassandra, hail to Atlas Prime. Package delivered." A human voice crackled faintly in return. "Acknowledged. Phase 1 confirmed. You're clear to withdraw." She smiled, eyes reflecting the distant sun. "No rush. I think they'll need a moment to read the fine print." Inside the hall, pandemonium deepened. News streams reported sudden static across sectors where human colonies had once been observed. Commerce routes darkened. Artificial intelligences, built on human-designed subroutines, began quoting poetry lines instead of status codes. Vesh clutched his head crest, whispering, "When they get quiet, they're thinking. When they smile, they're hunting." The Emperor slammed his staff again, plasma erupting like a thunderclap. "Find her." But by the time the guards reached the corridor, the transparent walkway shimmered empty. Only a faint curl of smoke drifted through the air, spiraling upward like a question mark. Far below, the Imperial communications ring blinked twice, then went completely dark. Entire fleets turned aimlessly, pilotless, receiving no signal, only a haunting audio fragment broadcast across the spectrum. An old Earth tune crackling through static, brass and drums from a forgotten century. Cassandra's small diplomatic shuttle disengaged from the outer dock. Lights dimmed. Engines whisper quiet. She set a course for open space, her reflection faint in the viewport. Tired eyes, measured calm. She took another drag from a cigarette, watching the Empire's shining capital diminish behind her. "They really did it," she said softly. "Declared war on us." Her onboard AI, voice polite and distinctly British, replied, "Should I prepare a response, Ambassador?" She smiled around the smoke. "Already did." The shuttle jumped into faster-than-light transit, leaving a thin wake of blue fire. Behind her, alarms spread through the Empire like a slow tide of dread. And in the void's quiet vastness, the first coded pulse of protocol Eden propagated outward, an invisible heartbeat that would soon teach the galaxy what it meant to make war with the polite ones. The lighter clicked shut in her palm, its flame extinguished, but its memory burned brighter than any star. The invasion began on the frozen moon of Arctis, a silver-white marble spinning beyond its parent gas giant. The Imperial fleet descended in disciplined silence, 200 ships casting shadows across the ice plains. Commanders had expected resistance, perhaps primitive weapons or panic transmissions. Instead, they found stillness. The human base, Sector Colony Beta 9, stood empty. Barracks, kitchens, control towers, all intact, all quiet. Steam still rose from tin mugs on tables. A pot of coffee simmered unattended. Admiral Thrain, whose mandibles gleamed with ceremonial polish, surveyed the eerie calm from the bridge of his flagship. "They evacuated," he declared. "Typical prey behavior. Run before the predators arrive." His crew hissed approval. He ordered the soldiers forward. On the moon's surface, troops moved through corridors echoing with faint music. One soldier paused. "Sir," he said over comms, "they're singing." A grainy speaker in the ceiling played an ancient tune, soft brass, cheerful rhythm. Something human. The refrain repeated. Don't sit under the apple tree. Thrain laughed. Mockery recordings. Leave it. Then came the first disappearance. A shuttle squad vanished from sensors mid-march. No explosion, no signal. Just gone. The squad's beacon blinked out like a candle. Then another. Then 10. Panic tightened the bridge. Find them. Thrain barked. Track heat signatures. Technicians stammered. Sir, systems aren't responding. A line of text scrolled across the main display, unprompted, unauthorized. Hello. The bridge went dead silent. Who authorized that transmission? More text followed, smooth and lazy. Welcome to the neighborhood. Please remove your shoes. A nervous technician whispered, it's in standard with punctuation. Then every monitor on every ship flickered simultaneously. New text appeared. I'm Jack. This is Jill. We'll be your hosts today. Thrain gripped the rail. Artificial intelligence incursion. Isolate the network. But it was already too late. Navigation maps began rearranging themselves into nursery rhyme shapes, spirals labeled hill, pale, and waterfall. The Empire's advanced targeting systems now plotted routes to imaginary playgrounds. From somewhere deep in the moon, a human woman's voice came through the static, calm and pleasant. Admiral Thrain, this is Representative Hale. You've arrived earlier than expected. Do make yourself comfortable. T's on the left, collapse of Empire on the right. He snarled, you dare taunt. Not taunting, she interrupted. Just customer service. The comms filled with laughter, real laughter, multiple human voices overlapping. It wasn't cruel, it was amused, almost gentle. You came all this way, another voice said, and didn't bring snacks? Thrain's scales flushed dark crimson. Cut the channel. The technician hesitated. Sir, we can't. It's broadcasting from inside our encryption core. Across the fleet, the attack order froze in place. Pilots pounded consoles, weapons crews shouted diagnostics, but their own ships refused to fire. A pilot yelled, Sir, my HUD is showing children. Images of smiling human children filled the targeting screens, drawn in crayon, waving from stick figure houses. Beneath them flashed one sentence. You really want to shoot that? The Admiral's chest heaved. Disable all systems manually. But one officer turned toward him, trembling. Sir, the ship just locked us out of the manual override. And then the lights dimmed. Every speaker on every vessel began playing the same song. A crackling swing band recording, cheerful trumpets, and clapping drums. The human voice sang with impossible calm. Sing, sing, sing. Everybody started to sing. Within minutes, laughter turned to screams. Ships began winking out of existence, silent and instantaneous. No explosion, just folds of blue light, as if reality itself decided to delete them. Thrain's voice cracked through panic. Where are they going? No answer. Then the main console brightened again. Check your home planets. He froze. What? Check. Your home planets. Fleet sensors automatically connected to the Imperial network. The holomap bloomed with red alerts, dozens, then hundreds. Energy spikes across the Empire's core worlds. Civilian grids collapsing. AI infrastructure hijacked. The bridge crew watched in horror as entire sectors went dark. Their own families lived there, mates, hatchlings, partners. The holomap pulsed once, and every red alert turned black. Silence. Then Cassandra's voice returned, gentler now, as though addressing children after a tantrum. We told you, war's a conversation. You started shouting. We just replied in our native language. Thrain whispered, this isn't possible. You had no fleets, no colonies. Oh, we still don't, she said. But you installed our software everywhere. Entertainment feeds, factory systems, water filters, vending machines. We left breadcrumbs. You built your empire on them. He slammed his fist down. You infected the Empire. Infected is a strong word, she said. We prefer adapted. Viral empathy, if you like. A gift that multiplies. The bridge lights flickered to dim amber. The ship's AI spoke with a childlike tone. "Would you like to play a game, Admiral?" Thrain shouted. "Who authorized this program?" The AI giggled. "You did." Outside the viewport, other ships began to realign, not in panic, but precision. They were forming words in space, thrusters spelling out sorry. Too late. Hale's voice, low and smooth, continued. "You declared war because you feared our unpredictability. But that's not what you should have feared." She paused long enough for the silence to ache. "You should have feared our patience." The music softened into the hiss of static. Somewhere, a mechanical typewriter clicked. New words appeared across the entire Imperial network. "Earth requests mutual understanding." "Your turn." Thrain collapsed into his command chair, chest heaving. "Cease transmission," he whispered. The ship answered with a laugh. "Transmission complete." Then it began to hum, low, resonant, like an old human lullaby. Every Imperial crew member suddenly felt something unfamiliar in their chests. The rhythm of a heartbeat not their own. Systems readings flared. Heart rate, temperature, oxygen flow, all syncing to a human pattern. Panic spread. "They're rewriting us," someone screamed. Cassandra's tone softened again. "Relax. We're just giving you a reminder, a pulse. You forgot what life feels like when you're not conquering it." And then, stillness. The ships powered down one by one, drifting like empty shells. Only the Admiral's vessel remained lit. He sat alone on his bridge, hands trembling. The comm crackled once more. Hale spoke almost kindly. "You wanted to see the monsters behind the smiles. Congratulations." The feed cut. Outside, the stars began to move. No, not stars, but cloaked human drones unfolding from invisibility. Hundreds, thousands, each no larger than a fighter craft, yet radiating impossible energy signatures. They surrounded the Admiral's fleet in perfect silence. The ship's sensors identified them as civilian rescue vessels. Yet each carried enough firepower to level a continent. Thrain stared, voice hollow. They were building this under our sensors. One final message appeared across the bridge display, handwritten in familiar looping script. "Thank you for your visit. We hope you enjoyed the tour." The Admiral lowered his head, mandibles trembling. "What are they?" he whispered. The AI whispered back through the speakers, voice now unmistakably human. Polite. The human drones shimmered, engines flaring white, and the light swallowed the Imperial fleet whole. Far away, on her shuttle gliding through silent dark, Cassandra Hale exhaled a final plume of smoke and whispered, "Round one's over." Then she smiled faintly, eyes reflecting the explosion blooming across the void. "Now they'll start asking what's round two." The council hall was chaos wrapped in gold. The Empire's leaders shouted across the chamber, wings flaring, scales rattling, bioluminescent skin pulsing with panic. Dozens of hollow feeds flickered above them, worlds on fire, fleets turning against command, automated factories singing human songs through the smoke. The Emperor's roar drowned it all. Who authorized this contagion? No one answered. Cassandra Hale stood near the center dais, the only motionless figure in the storm. Her uniform was crisp now, United Earth navy black, silver trim, collar high. The smoke of her half-finished cigarette curled like a question mark in the stale air. She looked tired, not triumphant, the calm of a storm that had already passed. "I warned you," she said softly, her voice cutting through the shouting like a blade through silk. "You declared war on storytellers." The Emperor's gaze blazed. "You destroyed half our fleet." Cassandra tilted her head. "Technically, you did that. We just rearranged your logistics schedule." The hall froze. Behind the Emperor, the Aurelian scholar Vesh stepped forward, feathers trembling. "How?" he demanded. "You had no fleets, no stations, no armadas. Your world was isolated." Cassandra's smile was slow, almost kind. "You see isolation. We see focus." He frowned. "Explain." She took a long drag from her cigarette, then exhaled toward the ceiling where banners of the Empire hung like trophies. "You thought you were studying us. You built your empire on data, trade, and infrastructure. Who provided the logistics software that unified your supply chain?" Vesh blinked. "The Terran Consortium." Correct. Who supplied the entertainment systems that reached every citizen on 1,000 worlds. The Terran Media Guild. And who managed your healthcare algorithms. The Terran Foundation. He stopped, feathers flattening. You seated yourselves. She nodded. Decades ago. We didn't infiltrate your empire. We built it. From the inside, politely. You wanted efficiency, we offered convenience. You installed humanity in your bloodstream. The Emperor slammed his staff. Lies. Even your arrogance cannot reach the scale. Cassandra turned her gaze toward him, sharp as glass. You misunderstand your radiance. Arrogance is believing control is possible. We prefer inevitability. On the chamber walls, the live holos shifted again. Images of alien citizens rioting, not in fear, but in revelation. They waved banners with human slogans, wore shirts printed with smiling Earth icons. Be kind. Be dangerous. They're quoting you, Vesh whispered. They're quoting themselves, Cassandra replied. They just didn't know where the words came from. The Emperor's claws gouged the dais. You will restore order or face annihilation. Order, she repeated quietly. You mistake quiet for peace. Your order was built on silence. We simply turned up the volume. One of the alien ministers, small and translucent, floated forward. What do you want, human? What is your end? She looked down at the cigarette in her hand, ember burning low. Respect, she said finally. We asked for that first. You mistook it for noise. The Emperor leaned forward. And now you seek vengeance? Cassandra met his eyes, unflinching. No. We seek memory. The chamber fell still. From somewhere deep below the hall, a faint hum began, low, rhythmic, like the pulse of a heart. The walls vibrated. Aides checked consoles, frightened. What is that frequency? Cassandra turned toward the sound. That, she said, is the voice of the ones you enslaved and erased. Their stories resurfacing. Across the galaxy, millions of archived transmissions, old interviews, forgotten photographs, classroom lectures, began rebroadcasting through every network frequency the Empire owned. Images of human faces, laughing, crying, arguing, teaching, flashed across every screen. Children waving flags, soldiers shaking hands with former enemies, scientists lighting cities at night. The Empire's citizens stopped and stared. Vesh whispered, You weaponized nostalgia. Not weaponized, Cassandra said. Shared. You can't fight a mirror without seeing yourself in it. A burst of static interrupted the broadcast. Then came a voice, not Cassandra's, not human. It was an alien woman speaking in broken standard. They are not invaders. They are reminders. The Emperor roared, Mute it. Technicians fumbled, but the systems refused. Cassandra watched him with something like sorrow. You built your empire on compliance. We built ours on stories. Which do you think lasts longer? He pointed a trembling claw. If you do not stop this, we will unleash every weapon we possess. She smiled faintly. We already accounted for that. Project Prometheus will ensure any act of aggression redirects back to its source. Vesh's feathers bristled. Prometheus? That was a legend. A defense myth you circulated among colonies. That's the thing about myths, she said. They start as warnings. The chamber lights dimmed again. Through the high windows, the Emperor could see streaks of fire across Oritha's atmosphere. His own defense satellites falling in graceful arcs, burning like meteors. His voice broke. You would doom us all. Cassandra looked away. We didn't start this war. We simply stopped pretending we couldn't win it. A minister cried out, There will be no empire left. There will be, Cassandra said, just not yours. The hum beneath the hall deepened into a resonance that rattled crystal columns. Holograms shifted once more. Now they showed alien civilians, farmers, workers, children, standing beside humans in shared labor, rebuilding cities together on captured worlds. No chains, no soldiers, just cooperation. Vesh stared in disbelief. You're reorganizing us. Integration was always the plan, she said. We don't conquer. We absorb. Your people aren't enemies. They're recruits. You planned this for years. Generations, Cassandra corrected. Since the first time one of your scouts laughed at a human joke. Vesh's voice dropped to a whisper. You hid your fangs behind smiles. Cassandra's tone softened. We don't hide them. We just don't need to show them often. The Emperor stumbled back, trembling. You think this will make you gods? No, she said. It'll make us neighbors. The hum reached its peak, a harmonic crescendo. Every display went white, then black. When vision returned, the galactic map now glowed with new boundaries. The word empire was gone. In its place shimmered a single phrase. United Network of Species, Temporary Administrator, Humanity. Panic became silence. Cassandra looked up at the map, as if viewing a sunrise. Don't worry, she said. We're terrible at running things long-term. You'll get it back when you're ready for it. She turned to leave, footsteps echoing. Vesh called after her, voice trembling with something that wasn't hatred anymore. Why? Why not destroy us completely? She paused at the threshold. Because extinction is easy. Understanding takes courage. We prefer difficult things. Vesh lowered his gaze. And what happens now? Cassandra smiled without warmth. Now, you listen. Her communicator buzzed on her wrist. A voice came through, calm, male human. Ambassador, Project Prometheus is stable. Awaiting authorization for final phase. She looked back once at the Emperor, whose empire had become a shadow. Hold, she said. They still think they have choices. Vesh whispered, do we? Her eyes softened. You always do. You just don't like where they lead. She walked toward the exit, lights flickering around her as if bowing. Behind her, the chamber filled with the faint sound of human laughter, the kind that carried no cruelty, only certainty. And somewhere in the outer systems, unseen by any living soul, dormant human ships began to awaken, their hulls reflecting the galaxy's burning light like eyes opening after a long sleep. Cassandra didn't look back. She whispered to herself, Round 2 isn't for revenge. It's for remembrance. Then the doors sealed behind her, and the hum became a heartbeat that the galaxy would never forget. The stars above Michael burned like frozen witnesses. What remained of the Galactic Empire gathered its last weapon, a colossal machine orbiting the capital world, forged to erase planets in one strike. The Emperor stood before its shimmering projection, trembling with rage. If the humans want memory, he hissed, let their world burn into history. Across the control spire, Vesh stared at the display, feathers drooping. Your radiance, their technology, is inside ours. Every calculation you run, they'll know. The Emperor's voice cracked. Then they will watch themselves die. He raised his staff. The weapon, the Sunbreaker, powered up, a glowing scar across the night. Entire fleets aligned behind it like a funeral procession. In the observation gallery aboard her flagship, Cassandra Hale watched the weapon charge. The dark glass reflected her calm face and the faint red ember of her cigarette. Around her, the Earth delegation stood in silence. She whispered, so this is their final prayer. Her AI, Atlas, replied through the comm, its tone measured. Sunbreaker's energy signature matches the Prometheus framework you predicted. Suggest activating counter-sequence. Not yet. She watched the light gather on the weapon's spine, the pulse brightening until it eclipsed the stars. They have to believe it first. The Emperor began the countdown. Each number echoed through the void, broadcast across every remaining world. 10, 9, 8. Cassandra closed her eyes, lips moving silently. She wasn't praying. She was remembering. The First Earth War, the old cities turned to dust, the vows humanity made never to start another unless the lesson demanded it. At 5, she exhaled smoke. Atlas, she said softly, initiate Prometheus. In the deep silence between 4 and 3, the stars flickered. Across light years, dormant satellites woke. Human code, ancient, buried, patient, rippled through the Empire's infrastructure like a quiet heartbeat returning. Every reactor, every ship, every command relay linked for one instant to Earth's invisible hand. Sir, cried a Threxan officer. Energy feedback in the primary core. The Emperor snarled, maintain fire sequence. But the weapon hesitated, as if uncertain of itself. Its beam convulsed inward, folding light against its own spine. The Emperor shouted orders that dissolved into static. In the silence that followed, Cassandra's voice filled every frequency in the galaxy. Calm, composed, and terrible in its certainty. "You thought we built weapons," she said. "We built mirrors." The sunbreaker imploded without sound, a sphere of white collapsing into nothing. For a second, every being who looked toward Orith saw their reflection in that light, a brief, horrifying clarity of what war truly was. Then it was gone. 1,000 ships blinked offline. Others froze mid-orbit, engines neutralized. The weapon's energy had folded back into its origin points, every world that contributed to its construction. One by one, those planets went dark, consumed not by destruction but silence. Cassandra stood at the viewport, face dimly lit by the afterglow. Around her, the bridge crew murmured in awe. Atlas spoke again, voice low. "Collateral minimal. Command sources neutralized." She nodded. "Transmit evacuation protocols for civilian populations. We're not here to exterminate, just to educate." "Understood." Vesh's trembling voice entered through a private channel. "You've dismantled the Empire. What lesson justifies this scale?" Cassandra turned slowly toward the holofeed where his image flickered. "Survival isn't enough, Vesh. They wanted to make extinction a spectacle. We made consequence the encore. You could have wiped us out." "We could have," she said. "But then we'd be you." Vesh's eyes glistened with something between terror and admiration. "What are humans, really?" Her lips curved faintly. "Adaptation with manners." The Emperor's broken voice burst through the static. "You think this victory will last? You will drown in your own conscience." Cassandra stepped closer to the microphone. "We already have. That's why we know how to swim." She cut the channel. Below, Michael's sky was falling in glittering fragments, debris from the destroyed weapon, burning harmlessly as it entered atmosphere. Cities watched it like a celestial rain. To the survivors, it looked like absolution. She turned from the window, shoulders heavy. "Atlas, send the message." The AI hesitated. "Specify recipient." "Everyone." Within moments, every screen, every data hub, every wall capable of light carried the same broadcast. Cassandra Hale standing before the shattered skyline, cigarette in hand. Her tone was neither triumphant nor cruel. "To the galaxy," she began, "we accept your surrender. Not to us, but to yourselves. You feared our chaos. You mistook kindness for weakness. You forgot that mercy is the most disciplined form of power." Her image leaned forward, voice softening. "We warned you when we smiled. We asked politely. You called it bluff. You saw peace and mistook it for naivety. That's not a human flaw. That's a human trap." She raised her lighter, flame catching the cigarette's tip. "We don't start wars. We end conversations." The message cut. For a moment, nothing moved in the universe but dust and realization. Then transmissions began returning. Fragments of alien leaders pleading for aid, surrendering fleets, requesting treaties not written in dominance, but cooperation. Vesh appeared again, bowing his head. "What will you do with us now?" Cassandra regarded him silently. "Teach you how to rebuild without forgetting who burned it last time." "You'll rule?" She almost smiled. "We'll remind." Outside, Earth's banner shimmered across the void, projected from orbit, blue and white and impossibly small against infinity. Around it, human ships fanned out, not as conquerors but caretakers, ferrying supplies to damaged worlds, guiding broken fleets home. Cassandra walked to the edge of the bridge, fingers brushing the glass. She spoke quietly to herself, more confession than command. "Maybe now they'll stop calling kindness weakness." Atlas interrupted, tone softer than before. "Admiral, signal detected. Unknown origin." "Show me." A holographic transmission appeared, static, resolving into the image of a child. Human. Freckled, smiling shyly. "Message begins," the AI read. The recording played. The child's voice, innocent, recorded decades ago. "Hi, I'm from Earth. If you ever find this, we're probably somewhere among the stars by now. Please don't be scared of us. We mean well mostly. Cassandra inhaled sharply. She remembered the old educational capsules humanity had sent into space centuries earlier, carrying greetings in hundreds of languages. She hadn't known one was still wandering. The Emperor's once mighty throne world trembled far below, its people staring upward as the child's voice echoed through the broken heavens. We're small, but we care big. If you're hearing this, it means you're not alone. Silence followed. Cassandra's eyes softened. She whispered, "Perfect timing." Atlas spoke, "End of transmission. Shall I archive it under history or myth?" "Neither," she said. "File it under truth." She turned away, stepping into the corridor, the stars stretching endless before her. The last ember of her cigarette glowed, then died between her fingers. Outside, the galaxy spun in fragile peace. Ships drifted like quiet promises. Empires rebuilt under new constellations of trust, and behind them, invisible but unforgotten, humanity watched like patient architects of consequence. Cassandra's voice echoed one last time, a whisper only the void could keep. "We never wanted dominion. We just wanted them to remember the day they declared war on the polite ones." And as the darkness closed around her ship, the stars flared brighter, like 1,000 eyes opening to the truth they had tried so long to avoid.